Who arranged the attacks on November 26, 2008? The terror architects. What if renegade fanatics were not responsible for one of the bloodiest terror assaults in contemporary history, but a well-organized, months-long operation? What if the actual architects never set foot on Indian territory, and the invaders were only the last component? The world saw Mumbai burn on November 26, 2008. However, we pose the question that few documentaries are willing to pose tonight. Who really orchestrated the 26/11 attacks? More significantly, who escaped unharmed? November 26, 2008. India's financial center became a war in less than 60 hours. Coordinated killing zones included a Jewish center, hotels, cafes, and a train station. There were 166 fatalities. There were hundreds of injuries. The trauma is still present. The assailants were officially named. They caught one alive. A number of organizations were held accountable, but it takes much more than just firearms and rage to organize an assault of this magnitude. It needs instruction, knowledge, funding, logistics, additionally, strategic supervision in order to determine who planned the 26/11 operation. We will follow the planning process step by step on truth or shadow tonight. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you like fact-based films that go beyond headlines, because tales such as this need to be comprehended rather than forgotten. This attack was not spontaneous. The first misconception about 26/11 is that it happened suddenly. It wasn't. This assault demonstrated military-level preparation. Let us examine what needed to be ready: international marine navigation, satellite phone communication, target reconnaissance, coordinated multi-location attacks, and psychological warfare via media coverage. These assailants did not disappear. They were not improvisational. They adhered to precise directions, scheduled timetables, and pre-assigned routes. Later, phone intercepts showed something unsettling. The attackers were receiving real-time guidance, including instructions on where to go, who to target, and when to strike. This indicates that the planners were not only engaged before the assault, they participated in it. So who was capable of organizing such an event? We get to the second layer by asking that question. The structure of commands behind the guns. The attackers were young males, illiterate, really skilled, and totally disposable. They did not make decisions. They served as foot troops. Every significant terror operation adheres to a framework: trainers and handlers, field workers, operational strategists, ideological leadership. At the base of that pyramid were the Mumbai attackers. Later, investigators found out camps for training, simulations for rehearsal, Mumbai location mock. This was not anger. It was a rehearsal. Additionally, rehearsals need permission. Leadership is necessary for approval. This leads us to the planners, people who never confronted the victims, never fired a gun, and never made an appearance on television. Men who were aware of media cycles, psychological effects, and geopolitics. This was more than simply fear. Strategic fear was what it was. Now, ask yourself, do such assaults occur in the absence of state awareness? Or do the planners sometimes benefit from silence? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Your opinion is important. Please like the video and subscribe to Truth or Shadow if this documentary is changing your perspective. In the second part, we go into further detail on who offered the protection and where the plotting took place. The assaults on November 26 were not coincidental. They did not move quickly. Furthermore, they were not the product of lone persons. Multiple intelligence agencies, not just India's, eventually pointed to Lashkar-e-Taiba, a militant organization with a long history of cross-border operations. But naming an organization is only the first step, because organizations don't plan attacks on their own. People too. The infrastructure behind the attack planning. The 26/11 attacks required safe training locations, unrestricted communication, financial support, forged documentation, protection from early detection. These are not easy to obtain. They require an environment where planners can operate openly without fear of interruption. Intelligence reports later revealed that the attackers underwent months of preparation, including navigation training and simulated exercises. This wasn't secrecy. This was operational freedom. And that raises a critical question. How does an operation this complex go unnoticed unless someone chooses not to look? The role of handlers and coordinators. During the attacks, intercepted communications revealed something disturbing. The gunmen were not acting independently. They were receiving real-time instructions, told where to move, what to do, when to escalate. This means the planners were not hiding in fear. They were monitoring events live, calm, detached, methodical. The people giving those instructions never faced danger themselves. They were not martyrs. They were managers. The wall of denial and diplomatic shadows. After the attacks, the world demanded answers. India presented evidence, phone records, confessions, financial trails, and yet accountability stopped at the borders. Those accused of planning the attacks denied involvement. Some were briefly detained. Most were released. Trials stalled. Extraditions failed. And time quietly did what denial could not. It buried the outrage. Why justice never came full circle. International justice is not just about truth. It's about politics. Admitting responsibility would have meant diplomatic consequences, economic sanctions, internal instability. So instead, the world chose a familiar path. Condemnation without consequence. Strong statements. Weak action. And for the victims, that silence was deafening. The man who survived and what he confirmed, one attacker was captured alive. His testimony confirmed many of the worst fears. The attackers were trained, they were guided remotely. They were promised glory, not survival. He named handlers. He described the preparation. But even then, the trail stopped short of those who authorized the operation. Because planners rarely sign their names. They hide behind layers of distance and denial. At this stage, ask yourself, if the evidence was strong, why were the planners never punished? Was it lack of proof? Or lack of will? Tell us what you believe in the comments below. If this documentary is giving you clarity, not just information, support this work by liking the video and subscribing to Truth or Shadow. The warnings that came before the attack. Long before the first shots were fired in Mumbai, there were warnings. Not rumors. Not vague intelligence. Specific alerts. Foreign intelligence agencies had intercepted chatter suggesting a sea-borne attack targeting high-profile locations with multiple teams. These warnings were shared, they were documented, and yet they were not acted on with urgency. Why? Because intelligence is only powerful when leaders choose to listen. A failure that wasn't just one country's. This wasn't a single point of failure. It was a chain. Threats underestimated coordination gaps, delayed responses, and assumptions that nothing will happen. Terror planners rely on one thing more than weapons: complacency. And on November 26, 2008, that complacency cost 166 lives. The global responsibility question: when an attack crosses borders, responsibility must cross borders too. But in reality, accountability stops where politics begins. International pressure faded, diplomatic priorities shifted, and the planners remained untouched, not because they were innocent, but because confronting them was inconvenient. WHYTHE world moved on. Tragedies compete for attention. As new crises emerge, old wounds are quietly archived. But justice doesn't expire, and the families of the victims did not get closure. They got silence, and silence over time can look like acceptance. Remembering the victims, no just the event. The victims of 26/11 were not symbols. They were people, parents, children, travelers, workers. They didn't choose history. History chose them. Remembering their names matters. But understanding why it happened matters even more. Because memory without accountability is just repetition, waiting to happen. If documentaries like this matter to you, if you believe truth deserves time, context, and courage, like this video, and subscribe to Truth or Shadow. It helps independent storytelling reach the people who need it most. Don't let this story end here. Talk about it, share it, question official narratives, demand accountability, because the most dangerous outcome of terror is not fear. It's forgetting. We want to hear from you. Do you believe the planners of the 26 November attack were ever truly held accountable? Or did the world choose diplomacy over justice? Tell us what you think in the comments. Your voice keeps these stories alive. The truth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it waits, hidden in documents, buried in silence, obscured by time. But shadows exist only where light is blocked, and it's our responsibility to keep asking questions. This was Truth or Shadow, because some stories don't end until the truth is told.